Hello. Time to check in with a opera chat. I had a chance to see um, an opera last weekend, so I wanted to do a quick chat about it, just to sort of chat about my experience with it. What I saw slash heard was The Daughter of the Regiment by Gaetano Donizetti. There is the list of the cast. I saw this on November 12th, 2016, at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., performed by the Washington National Opera. So I'm not going to go through the whole cast, but just to call out, the conductor was Christopher Allen, and the director was Robert Longbottom. Then there was a couple of other cast members that I wanted to shout out to. One is Deborah Nansteel. So she played the Marquesa, and she is a mezzo soprano, and I had actually heard her in the 2015-2016 season here in Washington, at Washington National Opera, in the role of one of Cinderella's sisters in La Cenerentola. And she has such a great stage presence. She just sort of fills that role, these roles really well, these comic roles. The Marquesa has a bit of comic, this is a comedy opera, so it was so entertaining to watch her again and hear her again because she sings beautifully. And then Lawrence Brownlee, who is a tenor, he actually sang Tonio, which is sort of the lead tenor for this opera. And as it happened, I had on October 30th, so just a couple of weeks prior, I had happened to be messing around on Facebook, just wasting time, and I came across the fact that the Richard Tucker Gala was going on in Carnegie Hall, and Medici TV was broadcasting that live on Facebook, and I actually watched it, and so Lawrence Brownlee performed a couple of times during that gala at Carnegie Hall in New York City. Then I happened to see him, live in this performance here just last weekend. So that was a cool coincidence to actually get the chance finally to hear him live in person, as opposed to that gala, which nevertheless was awesome and is available on Medici TV, at least. I think still is free to watch currently. So then the other sort of special moment for the cast for this particular performance, the Duchess of Krakenthorp, which is a speaking role, not a singing role. It's a very small speaking role. This was done by U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsberg, and so that was really cool, and she did a great job. It was really funny. I'll chat a bit more about that here in a bit, and then just a shout out to the lead soprano who sang Marie in this production. Her name is Lisette Oropesa, I think. So Oropesa, so it looks like. She just sang the role so beautifully, and such a delight. So what this opera is about, if you're not familiar with it, is it's sung in French. It's the Daughter of the Regiment. In French is like La Fille du Régiment. And what she is this young girl who was war orphaned, and she's been raised by a regiment of soldiers, and so all this whole regiment consider themselves her dads. So she calls them all her fathers, and she's kind of grown up now, and she falls in love with this guy Tonio, who's sang by Lawrence Brownlee that I mentioned. And at first her fathers are like, yeah, no, because he's not in the army, and ultimately. He does join the army, but around that time, the Marquesa realizes that Marie is her long-lost daughter, not daughter, her long-lost niece, she says. And so she drags her off to her chateau, and Marie doesn't want to go, but, the captain of the regiment says, you have to go because it's, your place, etc. So sort of fate pulling her apart from Tonio, and she does go. This is where the Duchess of Krakenthorp comes in, as played by Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The Duchess of Krakenthorp wants Marie to marry her son, but she's doing this sort of screening of her, to make sure she's an appropriate person. And she's very skeptical because, obviously Marie's been raised by this regiment of soldiers. And so she is a bit rough around the edges and lacking grace in this type of thing. They are trying to sort of give her charm school, crash course in charm school, but it's not working real well. And the Duchess of Krakenthorp, though, the lines they gave Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg to say was really all kind of from taken from opinions that she has given from the Supreme Court of the U.S. And then the last sort of thing that proof that she wants is the birth certificate, which was sort of alluding to, the whole birth certificate thing that Republicans have constantly harped on during Obama's presidency, sort of trying to delegitimize him, even though his birth certificate was presented, they thought it was not real, etc. So that got some goof-offs from the audience, and it was quite funny. Then ultimately, though, her Marie, she wants to marry, of course, Tonio, who's in the army and can't leave the army at this point because he's enlisted. It sort of comes out then, and as I've said before, spoiler alerts aren't really usually given in operas, but so I'm going to give it how it ends. But she, the Marquesa, then played by Deborah Nansteel, reveals at the end that Marie is actually her illegitimate daughter, and she wants her to be happy. The regiment sort of comes to Marie's assistance during the wedding to the Duke, says, we stand by you, don't marry who you don't want to marry. And then finally, her aunt/mother agrees as well and wants her to be happy. So it all ends happily. So it's actually quite a simple story. So when I explain this, it seems like you might think, oh, that doesn't sound like that would be all that gripping and all that fun. But, it really wasn't. I think this is really because of the music. So this is Donizetti, a comedy. And, my experience with it was even during the overture, I felt my mood lifting. I really, something about the music, and I don't know the technical reasons why this does this, but it was just very light, and I could just feel myself, already feeling in a better mood and just ready to laugh and have fun. And so really, this is a bel canto opera, so it's really focusing on these, voices. There's some really difficult arias in it. I think there's one of the most difficult tenor arias that comes really sort of at the beginning that Lawrence Brownlee just nailed. The audience just loved it. But the whole thing just winds up being just so delightful that when it was over, I just, my mood had shifted. I was just in such a much more relaxed and better mood. And, really, what's the purpose of art but to shift our perspective? And, sometimes that's shifting for lighthearted fun as well as just as healthy as intellectual or tragedies and this type of thing. So I'm really, really super glad that I went to see it. I almost didn't go because I just didn't appeal, just hearing the story, I thought, oh, that doesn't sound like that would be one of the operas that I just really need to go see. But then I'm really glad that I did. Donizetti did. I've seen another one of his operas on streaming, La Liseur d'Amour, which has a wonderful aria in it. And, that's a funny comic opera too, and I enjoyed that as well. But seeing this one live, really, seeing operas live are just really different, it's been my experience than listening to the recordings or watching them on DVD. It's just a different experience to feel that music in person and live. So I'm super duper glad that I went. I enjoyed it much, and I'm really glad that I went ahead and really what pushed me over the edge was I heard that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was going to be at this performance, and I thought, well, maybe I'll go see it since she's going to do this funny thing. But the opera just turned out to be so much better than I expected, so loved it. I'll stop with that. I'll have another video coming up on one topic or another very soon, so stay tuned. Catch you soon. Bye.